Once upon a time, in a small factory, there was a young man who had just started working. He was fortunate to be mentored by an experienced and wise old technician. This mentor didn't just teach him the technical aspects of the job, but also valuable life lessons. One piece of advice he repeated often was, "Speak less, do more, and always keep learning and improving your skills in every part of the job." These simple yet powerful principles became the young man's personal code. From that day forward, he worked quietly and diligently. He never sought attention or praise, nor did he join in idle talk or office politics. He stayed focused, always trying to do his best, no matter how difficult or mundane the task. Whenever something went wrong or required fixing, he was there to handle it, not with loud declarations, but with quiet competence. 10 years passed. The old technician retired, and the young man eventually stepped into his mentor's position. With the same dedication and commitment, he continued doing his job. He didn't complain, didn't ask for recognition, and never stopped learning. In his mind, as long as he stayed true to the principles his mentor taught him, success would follow in time. But as the months went by, the young man noticed something troubling. His efforts seemed to go unnoticed. Colleagues who were less experienced, less skilled, and less committed were being promoted, while he remained in the same position, earning the same salary he had as an apprentice. He began to feel confused, disheartened, and even betrayed by the very ideals he had followed so faithfully. This growing frustration would soon lead him to seek answers from the one person he still trusted, his old mentor. After many years of hard work and dedication, the young man began to feel disheartened. Despite always giving his best, mastering every skill, and quietly taking care of countless problems at the factory, he saw no reward. His efforts seemed to go unnoticed. To his surprise and disappointment, others with far less experience and skill were being promoted ahead of him. They received raises, titles, and recognition, while he remained in the same position with the same pay he had received as an apprentice. This growing sense of unfairness began to weigh heavily on him. He often wondered to himself, "Have I done something wrong? Isn't this exactly what I was taught? To work hard, stay quiet, and keep learning? Why am I being overlooked?" The once passionate worker now found himself arriving at work with a quiet sadness. He still performed his duties with care, but the joy he once felt had faded. The young man reached a breaking point. He could no longer ignore the feeling of being taken for granted. The very values he had held onto so tightly now seemed to offer no return. Left with no clear answer, he turned to the one person he still trusted deeply, his former mentor. Upon seeing him again, the old technician could sense something was wrong just by looking at his face. The young man opened up about his frustration, recounting how he had followed every piece of advice to the letter, but still hadn't been rewarded. The old man listened patiently, then asked a quiet but important question. "Are you absolutely sure the factory sees you as indispensable?" The young man nodded without hesitation. "Yes, they rely on me every day. I solve the problems no one else can." The mentor didn't respond right away. He stood up and began pacing slowly, lost in thought. After a long pause, he turned back and offered a simple but unexpected piece of advice, something that would soon shift the young man's perspective in a way he never anticipated. After a moment of silent thought, the old mentor turned to the young man and said, "Now, I want you to request a day off. Use any reason you like. It's time to give yourself a little rest." The young man was surprised. He didn't understand why his mentor would suggest something so unusual, especially when he was feeling ignored and unappreciated. However, his trust in the old man's wisdom had never wavered. The more he thought about it, the more it began to make sense. Perhaps by always being reliable and silently efficient, people had come to take him for granted, forgetting how much he truly contributed. The very next day, he submitted a leave request and stayed away from the factory. When he returned the following morning, he was immediately summoned to the manager's office. The manager told him that things had gone terribly wrong while he was away. Tasks he usually handled smoothly had caused confusion and delays because no one else knew how to manage them. Realizing how essential he truly was to the daily operations, the factory's leadership decided to promote him to the position of senior technician as a sign of gratitude and recognition. The young man was deeply thankful to his mentor. In that moment, he believed he had finally discovered the true secret to success, that sometimes stepping away is the only way to make others realize your value. After his promotion, the young man began using the same tactic whenever he felt undervalued. Each time he believed he deserved more recognition or better treatment, he would take a day off. And every time he returned, things at the factory had gone poorly in his absence. This pattern worked like magic. His status improved, his voice was heard, and he started gaining more respect. But over time, what once seemed like a clever strategy turned into a habit. The young man became dependent on absence to prove his worth. He no longer tried to ask for what he needed directly or communicate his concerns. Instead, he used silence and absence as his only tools. Then, one day, everything changed. When he returned from yet another day off, he was shocked to find that his employee ID no longer worked. At the gate, he was told that his employment had been terminated. Confused and hurt, he couldn't understand what had gone wrong. Hadn't he followed the lesson? Hadn't he done exactly what his mentor had suggested? Feeling lost, the young man decided to return to the one person who might help him make sense of it all, his old mentor. Shocked and confused, the young man returned to his old mentor, his heart heavy with disappointment and pride wounded. Sitting down across from the elderly technician, he asked in frustration, "Why did I lose my job? I followed your advice exactly. I worked hard, stayed quiet, became indispensable, and even used your strategy to prove my value. Why was I replaced?" The old man looked at him with gentle eyes and slowly shook his head. "That's because," he said softly, "you only learned half the lesson." The young man blinked. "Half the lesson?" "Yes," the mentor replied. "You understood the first part well, that when a light bulb is always on, no one notices it. Only when it goes off do people realize how important it was. But you were so eager to apply that insight, you left before hearing the second, and more important, half." The young man leaned in. "What was the second half?" The mentor spoke slowly, with emphasis. "If a light bulb goes off too often, people will eventually replace it with one that's more reliable. Who wants a light that can't be trusted to shine when needed?" The realization hit the young man like a wave. He had become so focused on proving his worth through absence that he forgot the importance of consistency and dependability. What was once a demonstration of value had turned into a reason for doubt. The mentor continued, "In life, we all have people we depend on. Friends, family, co-workers, and often we take them for granted. We only notice their value when they're not there. But if they disappear too often, we stop relying on them." he paused, then added, "Don't let yourself be taken for granted, but also don't become someone others cannot count on. Balance is the key. Keep doing your best, even when recognition is slow. Stay present, stay consistent, and your true worth will shine without needing to prove it through absence." The young man sat in silence, humbled and thoughtful. He now understood the full lesson, not just about success at work, but about relationships, trust, and the quiet strength of reliability. The young man left his mentor's house that day with a sense of clarity he had never felt before. He realized that true success isn't about grand gestures or proving your worth through absence. It's about consistency, reliability, and showing up every day, no matter what. It's about balancing your need to be valued with the wisdom of knowing when to give others space to recognize your importance. When he returned to the factory, he took a different approach. Instead of waiting for things to go wrong so that he could step in and solve problems, he began focusing on being a steady, dependable presence. He showed up every day, continued working with dedication, and quietly supported his team. He made sure that his contributions were not just moments of brilliance, but part of a constant, ongoing effort to keep things running smoothly. Over time, his value became unmistakable. His colleagues and superiors started to notice that he was always there when needed, always reliable, and always delivering excellent work. They no longer took him for granted. His consistency had earned him the respect and recognition he had long desired. In the end, the young man learned that the secret to success wasn't about seeking attention or taking time off to prove his worth. Instead, it was about becoming someone who others could always rely on, and doing his work with quiet dedication, not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. He had found balance, and with it, true success.